President Trump signed legislation rolling back FCC rules on Internet privacy before they could even take effect. Under the law, Internet service providers are now allowed to sell your record of what sites you visited online. What tools can help you keep your data private and messaging your friends? How can you keep those conversations away from prying eyes? Joining me are Julia Angwin. She's a senior reporter at ProPublica and has written extensively about security and privacy. She's the author of Dragnet Nation, A Quest for Privacy, Security, and Freedom in a World of Relentless Surveillance. Also, Eva Galperin is Director of Cybersecurity for the Electronic Frontier Foundation and helped create their surveillance self-defense guide. And
basically, your ISPs, internet service providers, the companies that you pay for internet service, sees everything. You connect to the internet through them, and then the rest of the internet, as you access it, they can see it unless the service you're using has taken steps to encrypt it. Internet service providers, they have been desperate to get into the business that Google and Facebook have of creating dossiers about people and getting advertisers to pay for that access. And the FCC effort last year to put in these privacy rules was actually because they were concerned about the intrusiveness of the actions the ISPs were taking. And it was meant to curtail some of that. Generally, most email providers at this point, their back end that goes over the ISP is encrypted, so they mostly can't read your email, but that's still not true of all of them. Same with instant messaging or chats. Unfortunately, this new law codifies the status quo. This new administration and Congress have said, go wild, have fun, and enter this new era of access to personal data.
Well, there are a couple of different things that you can do. The first is to think about using a VPN when you connect online. Not all VPNs are created equal, and I would be very suspicious of free VPNs or VPNs that are very cheap, because usually if you don't understand who is paying for the product, you are probably the service. If it is free, or if it is, say, $20 for a lifetime membership, you should be strongly suspicious that they are making money by selling your browser data. You might also want to make sure that you're using a browser extension called HTTPS Everywhere, written by EFF, and which we make available for free. You can use it on Chrome or your Firefox browser. It will make sure that if the site that you're visiting supports HTTPS, that it will do so by default. HTTPS is the encryption that Julia was talking about, which means that your ISP can see sort of what website you're going to, but they can't see what you're doing on the website, and they can't see what part of the website they're going to. So if you go to KQED.org, they can see that you went to KQED.org, but they can't see that you went to KQED.org/Science Friday. I think everybody's threat model is a little bit different, and some people are genuinely concerned about being spied on by law enforcement. But that doesn't mean being spied on by your ISP or by corporations is not also deeply worrying for some people, and they should be able to protect themselves against it.
I'm a big fan of the Tor web browser. It anonymizes your traffic. So what your ISP would see is that you're going through Tor, but it wouldn't know what websites you're visiting. And it's probably, in my opinion, the best protection we have in the situation that we're in, where the ISPs have been given carte blanche to look at everything that we're doing online. There's a little lag time because Tor bounces your traffic around the world in order to evade being seen. You have to put up with a little bit of slowness, but I keep it open most of the time and try to use it for the searches that I don't want anyone to see. Download it directly from Tor, because there also are people who try to market fake Tor.
If you're using Tor for all of your browsing, you will frequently get a lot of requests to fill out CAPTCHAs and prove that you are not a bot, because a lot of abuse to websites happens via Tor, so they need to make sure you are not, in fact, being abusive. So it slows you down a little bit, and it's a little bit annoying, but it is free, and it's certainly worthwhile.
What's the best way to feel secure in text messaging?
Text messages are not very secure. If you are sending regular, straight-up SMS text messages, it is extremely easy to spy on those messages. Not just the metadata, who you're talking to, but the content of your messages is really easy to pick up, not just for your cell phone provider, but for anyone who can make a GNU radio for not a lot of money. There are several excellent replacements for text messaging that work quite well. One of them is Signal, both free and open source, from OpenWhisper Systems. The same crypto is used in WhatsApp. The only concern is that WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and so Facebook takes knowledge of who you're sending messages to and combines it with the things they know about you from Facebook. If you're worried about corporate spying, could be pretty distressing. I also recommend Wire, also a free app.
Isn't the Apple text message system encrypted end-to-end?
If you're sending messages to other people who have iPhones.
So if you send somebody who's on Android,
it will in fact not be encrypted at all. Nope.
Didn't know that. Julia, what about internet companies that aren't ISPs? Shouldn't we just assume that you give them permission to go and see everything that you have?
If you bother to read that very long terms of service that no one ever reads, you have agreed to give them everything, and they are using that to make a lot of money off of you. Basically, what's happening is the ISPs are just jealous. They want that same amount of money, even though they already charge you for their services. And we have to think about this as a problem overall for the internet. This is troubling that the ISPs got this special pass, but we've also built a system where we've allowed everyone total surveillance of us, and we don't have a lot of options as consumers for a better way, unless you want to do like I do, which is use Tor. But as Ava said, it's extremely annoying to use.
Do companies really want to know the exact person?
Actually, some of the ISPs have come out and said, we're not going to sell your browsing data. And there's a little bit of a semantic game that's going on right now because most companies don't sell a list of the URLs. It's actually much more like, I want to reach somebody who's really into science and has a radio show on Fridays. Can you follow that person around the web? So they put people into categories and they sell those categories, and that allows them to say that they're not selling your individual data, that it's more sort of compiled or an analysis. In reality, there may well just be only one person who fits that criteria.
Let's go to Mike in New Britain, Connecticut.
I heard about what happened with Congress, and I purchased a VPN service. Some of them will save your data, even though they're protecting you while you're surfing. The data is saved, and people can get it.
I do think it's very important when you're choosing a VPN to see whether or not they have a policy of logging your browsing data. If you are concerned about your ISP having a great big log of all of your browsing data and possibly selling it, that concern also extends to your VPN. You're essentially just moving the nexus of trust. One of the things that I recommend doing is actually looking for a VPN provider in a country like Sweden or Finland where logging is illegal.
The truth is that as citizens, we're always going to be outgunned by the corporations that are trying to watch us and make money off of surveilling us. And so, yes, we can try to do all this, and I use a VPN and use Tor and use Signal, and I use all those things. But in the end, I'm up against people who have much greater resources, and I would really love it if at some point we were able to rebalance this equation slightly more in favor of the citizen.
Is your email really so easy to get a hold of?
There are two aspects to encryption here. This is actually something that confuses people a lot when they talk about encryption. They're trying to decide, what do I do in order to protect myself, and choose tools. Frequently, it's not clear whether they mean encrypting your data at rest or encrypting your data in transit, which are two different things. Right now, most email providers will encrypt your data in transit, which means that if you go to the URL bar on your browser, it will be starting with HTTPS rather than HTTP, and that means the data is encrypted while it is going across the internet. And this is very good. This is something that we have been pushing for at EFF for many years, and about half of the internet is currently using HTTPS. The other question is your data at rest, which is to say that when the email is on your computer, is it encrypted then? For that, you often need to use additional tools such as PGP. Pretty good privacy. It is, in fact, free to PGP encrypt your email. You can do this using some browser extensions such as Mailvelope are compatible with your web-based email. I usually caution people against the use of PGP because it is so easy to get it wrong, and when it fails unencrypted. It is extremely important that you do it right. If it is important to you to send messages back and forth with someone and you would like to make it more difficult for you to screw up, I would recommend a tool more like Signal or WhatsApp, depending on your feelings about the metadata issue, because your data will always be end-to-end encrypted, both in transit and at rest. You can't screw it up.
Thanks to both of you for being with us today, Eva Galperin and Julia Angwin.